Well then, hello everybody, and welcome to the Mind of a Madness podcast with myself and the wonderful Sean Darius.
Hello there. Hello. Welcome, everyone.
Yes, we're back
Welcome
again
to today's
doing another one. Yeah, and ironically, 2 weeks later. It's the first time in...
Is it actually 2 weeks? I can't believe it.
Yeah, I know. I've actually managed to get on the to do a podcast.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's exciting. It's nice to be here doing this with you.
There's a bit of a schedule, yes.
Yeah, finally I've sorted my life out.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Whenever things happen, it's just like, oh, that'd be great to talk about in the podcast. And plenty of those things have happened in the past 2 weeks. So.
Yes, there was a lot of stuff that we get to go over today. But before we get into that, as we always do, how has your week been, good sir?
Yes, it has been very good indeed. I was just mentioning before how this place has been like a hotel for the past couple of days, from like Sunday to Wednesday anyway. I had my sister and Jade come, which was very nice. We went to Liverpool and went to see the River of Light. I think it's, by the time this is uploaded, I think it will not be on anymore, but I highly recommend it if it's on in future years. Just go to Liverpool, there's like a website you can go to, and it's all very interactive light shows. I was surprised how good it was. There's all this like little game thing of the chase the light, bounce the light, and all this kind of thing. The fact that it was raining was really nice as well, because you got the reflections. My gamer mind was like, oh my god, look at all these ray trace reflections. In real life.
Almost as
But yeah, and then my friends came over, Kane and Julie. Hello, Kane and Julie. They are watchers of the podcast as well.
Oh, damn.
Yeah, they came up for a night, played a lot of classic games and stuff, went out for a meal. And Weatherspoon's in town, although it's kind of like Karen's Diner, though. But it's very nice. So, yeah, thank you for coming down again, Kane and Julie. And yeah, it's just been quite a joyous couple of days. So...
It sounds it.
I'm quite happy.
That sounds it. Sounds good.
So yeah, how have you been this past 2 weeks?
Pretty good. Lots of new stuff happening. I've gone back to streaming now, but with a safe schedule.
Yes.
My calendar is pretty fucking full, I won't lie. I'm fairly busy,
Yeah.
but I like that. I like the fact that I have a purpose again. I think that's something I was lacking for a while. So it's nice to be back doing stuff, keeping myself busy, but also spending time with friends and hanging out and stuff. I know me and you are going to be hanging out later, so I'm very much looking forward to that.
Yeah.
Obviously, we're back doing this, so I'm very happy about that.
Yeah, at least this has kind of remained a stable constant throughout all of the ups and downs.
Despite everything going on.
Even if it hasn't been every 2 weeks, it's been every couple of weeks at least. So.
Definitely. And of course, we have made arrangements for hanging out in person, which is going to be very exciting.
I know, yes.
I'm very excited for that, so it's going to be very good. Who knows, maybe even you guys will get something special.
Maybe there's something special planned for them.
Maybe. But no, it's not a sex tape. But,
why are you bothering coming down there?
I'm disappointed, Jen.
Save your money.
Don't come up here if I'm not getting any nookie. But so it's been good. I've enjoyed it. It's been a good week.
Very good, yeah. It's always good to have a good week, and then we're enthused to talk about all the things that have happened.
And the news, which is always the fucking fun one.
Can we segue into the news?
Yeah, let's segue into the news.
Smooth news.
So yeah, where should we start? Should we start with the Prime Minister and government?
Well,
and all that shit?
I suppose so, yeah. So Liz Truss is out. A lettuce lasted longer than her. And Rishi is in.
That's so good that they did the lettuce thing.
I know, like, just the cleverness behind videotaping that and then bloody, it becoming a meme. But yeah, so we have a new Prime Minister. After Liz Truss, the shortest serving Prime Minister in, like, British history ever.
Yep.
It's quite astonishing, really, how we've gone through so many in this past, couple of months.
So yeah, we've got Rishi Sunak now.
So what do we think about Rishi? I mean, what is there really to say? Like, he's probably another one of the Boris-ites, I suppose. But he, I don't know, I kind of prefer him over Liz a little bit as forms of personality and stuff, but that means nothing really.
I think I like the fact that he has come in and he hasn't bullshitted people.
In the first day.
he literally just went, fuck you, taxes are going to have to go up because where the hell are we getting 40 billion from otherwise? So, although it's not great, I appreciate the fact that he hasn't just come in and sort of tried to sugarcoat it like Boris did and like Liz did.
I know.
Trying to hide
bluster it away.
Yeah. So that's always a positive, I guess. I appreciate that he hasn't just lied and tried to sugarcoat anything. He's like, no, it is going to be rough. Like, but I mean, he's still got a dodgy past, and
he's basically an oligarch, isn't he?
Yeah. So
it's like so insanely rich. I don't know, probably like 20% of the population's salaries doesn't even compete with his fortune.
Crazy.
And there was the scandal with his wife not paying any taxes and stuff because she is technically still working for an Indian firm on it. But yeah, I don't know what the future holds with this. I think he's going to be more stable than the previous two because that just seems like the way he is. Something about this whole thing screams a bit of controversy with it feels like Liz was always just a bit of a scapegoat here, and then they're like, oh yeah, she can have it, and then Rishi will eventually be in anyway. But yeah, that's just how things have turned out. That's probably how things should have been. Liz should have never have got in the first place. But of course, it's not chosen by us, and there has been lots of calls for elections. We should have a say in this, in this instability period. What the hell is going on?
Yeah. What's your kind of thought on that? Because obviously a lot of people have pushed for a general election. Obviously Labour are pushing for it because they would win at this point. But it's definitely one of those things. Do you think it would be a good time to have a general election, despite the instability of the country and the pound and everything going on, or do you think it's probably...
Well, how long's left before the next one? Is it a year and a half? Yeah. Okay, it's about a year and a half or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. If there was ever going to be one, it would have been just after Liz Truss, but it's not happened. So I think right now it's just focus on. I don't know if that would cause more instability or if it would just kind of worsen things or help things. I feel like we're just going to have to put up with Rishi for a while.
Yeah.
And then just wait until the next one, and then officially we will have our say.
Yeah.
But it's so traditional and outdated and old-fashioned. It just doesn't make any sense in modern times. But
yeah,
this is just the way things are. So
it is pretty crazy because to go through 3 prime ministers within 2 years, and technically, I guess you could say within the last 3 or 4 months.
Literally, everyone's resigned as well. Cameron resigned. Theresa May resigned. The rest of them resigned. Boris resigned. Liz Truss. How many people resigned? Why can't you just stick it out?
I think this is why a lot of people... I think this is why the Conservatives aren't doing a general election, because they know they'd lose. I think a lot of people now are fed up with the Conservatives. And
that's also a good point.
Yeah, they've drove the... Well, Liz Truss literally destroyed the pound in 44 days.
Yeah.
Even Jeremy Hunt came in as Chancellor. Wasn't it? Was it Chancellor or... Because that's exchequer kind of thing. So he came in and literally just reversed everything she had done and went, you've literally destroyed this country. He was more of a prime minister at the end of her tether than she was.
I know, yeah.
So
because the health minister resigned as well after basically telling you how it is.
Yeah.
Even though they're supposed to be great friends and I suppose business is business.
I appreciate the fact that there have been people in government that have basically just gone this isn't realistic. You have to kind of now start being honest with people. And I guess that's hopefully that's going to be Rishi's take on it now. I think, to be honest, what we're going to see is we won't get a general election until 2024. That's probably not going to happen. But hopefully Rishi Sunak will stick it out till then. I think, if anything, he's going to be the most straight-talking. Boris always avoided stuff. I think I watched part of Rishi's first PMQ with Keir. And again, he was just doing what every Conservative has done, or what any Prime Minister, I guess, has done, which is just avoiding answering specific questions, throwing out useless numbers that don't mean anything to try and look good. But one thing that I will say is that he has at least been partly honest in regards to taxes and stuff. He's not trying to sugarcoat it and be like, well, where else are we? We'll get the 40 billion from this thing. But it's just about how they go about it now, I think. Whether or not they help the common people is going to be whether or not they're going to be winning another general election anytime soon. So
yeah, so it makes sense from their part to stick with it till 2024. But we will have our say then, and probably Conservatives will go on because Rishi will be amazing. Yeah. Because we're just bound to make the wrong decision all the time.
I mean,
although
I think it's just people in government and any kind of government, I guess, as well. Now it's just they're all just. I mean, we've talked about this numerous times. They're all just so disconnected. They don't realise what damage is being done to people these days. So, I mean, another subject we're probably going to touch on in a bit is talking about. It's Project Cascader or something it's called, which is something that was literally top secret in the UK. But it's like an emergency thing for power.
Right.
Which has been discussed now, and that's going to be happening for the UK in the winter because the power situation in the UK is so, well, fucked.
Dire.
It's the worst it's been. So that's going to be interesting to see how Rishi handles all of that. And
there's going to be some testing times, of course, with him. He's not going to have to deal with the COVID pandemic, I don't think, because that's gone away now. It's gone. Bye-bye. Even though a lot of people I know have got it right now, and numbers are probably going up, but I don't know. Whatever. I'm not even going to go into that, but cost of living crisis. I think Liz kind of set the standard with that, trying to help people with energy bills and stuff. But obviously, it's never going to be enough.
No.
But hopefully, Rishi can maintain some of that and add on to it.
Yeah.
But yeah, no one's really talking about the energy thing anymore.
Yeah,
apart from these blackouts and stuff.
Yeah, but actually, there's a lot more to that. So, I mean, have you got anything else on kind of Rishi and kind of your thoughts or anything, or should we move on?
We can move on. I've got some more things on certain ministers, but
we can talk about that. We'll definitely talk. I think I know what you're talking about as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I found this article. I'll link it down below for anyone that wants to see, and I'll put a picture on screen quickly just so you can have a glance. But it's called the where is it? I got to try and find it. But basically, what the government have been saying is that they've been testing this stuff for years anyway, because every kind of sector, so money, power, water. There's all these different kind of top secret projects they have for emergencies, and they've been actually testing this one. Because unfortunately, it's looking like the UK is going to be having 3-hour power cuts and emergency broadcasts. So Radio 2 and Radio 4. So this is kind of, hopefully, if anyone is listening and you're kind of confused when all this stuff starts happening, Radio 4 and Radio 2 are the only two analog radios that will still be functioning when power gets cut off. So what the government have basically said is you need to make sure you have an analog radio that can listen to those two channels to keep updated. Otherwise, you're just not going to be able to find out anything because there won't be any internet, there won't be any power.
This is kind of a worst case scenario thing. It's not guaranteed to happen.
Yeah, this isn't a guarantee. I think the closest thing we've got to a guarantee is probably the rolling blackouts. I think that's probably a good chance we're going to see 3 hours of just no power for the UK for like a week or something. They've said that'll probably be between 4 p.m. and 7 p.m. now as well.
Yeah, it's an interesting time. I suppose that's when everyone's kind of coming home from work and whatever, like traditionally.
So, that's my guessing of it. Yeah, but yeah, what's kind of your thoughts on the energy stuff and everything going on in the UK now?
Well, now that they've kind of fumbled together some kind of plan to stop energy going up even further, but I think apparently interest rates are going up like massively. That's something else that's just been in the news recently. But yeah, we'll see. And we're going to head into like the worst recession on record, but that's for a future one. Happy times. But yeah, so I'm part of me is glad that they kind of have a plan for this kind of thing. We're not just going to be left in the dark.
Jolly good.
That was not planned. But Yeah, if it comes to the worst case scenarios, or just even like starting to get into the worst case with these blackouts and things, then I think people will just deal with them, because as long as we're forewarned and like we prepared for them and they kind of help the necessary people get the help they need, then it's not going to be a massive issue, really. But it's going to be when it comes to everything is run by power in the country, so it's kind of hard to imagine what it's going to be like emergency services and all these things. So there's going to have to be some kind of backup generators in some certain places and stuff, of course. But
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it'll just majority of us will just be kind of plunged into darkness for a little bit. But
Yeah.
I think if that kind of spirit of lockdown will, of the first 2 weeks of lockdown anyway, will probably come back to us, and we kind of all get through it together. And they'll probably have a load of campaigns and celebrities like on TV going, "We support, hashtag blackout for future power." So you can imagine that all that's going to be going on.
Yeah. We won't be able to see it, but
Oh no, they'll be on Radio 1.
Yeah.
Strictly come hearing.
Yeah.
Strictly come listen to us dance.
Just hear the beat.
Yeah.
Apparently it's called Project Yarrow, so if anyone ever wants to look it up, so Yarrow, YARROW. So if you want to look it up, there's like 3 plans basically to it, which is kind of the radio emergency broadcast on Radio 2 and 4 if worst comes to worst, and obviously transporting food to the most vulnerable during the blackouts, because obviously if the power goes off, we lose all our food.
Yeah.
So
I wonder how that'll work with will they keep the highways and stuff, the cars going around? Because I mean, your cars will work as long as you have petrol.
So,
but
I mean,
if it breaks down, there's a lot of electric cars as well.
I mean, shops, supermarkets, all of that. They have generators, but I mean, that's I think why they're hoping to only do 3-hour blackouts, because the generators can handle that for 3 hours. But anything more than that could be.
It's quite ironic, really, when they're kind of moving to a transitional, like electric. Everything has to be electric. Period. Yeah. When the only thing that'll work in these blackouts is gas powered the generator.
Yeah.
So interesting.
But
how many fuel again?
I think the only thing that I've seen from it is kind of any kind of article you read, it's mostly that the government has been stress testing this to see if it's even going to be possible to do this kind of thing safely and keeping elderly and young people safe. But yeah, they've been doing constant exercises with different council members and councils around the country. The Met Office basically also stepped in and kind of gave, because obviously temperatures are going to be extremely low in January and February for the UK. So obviously being without power, especially in the evening times, is risky for older people. And I think what started all of this was, I'm trying to find it here. Yeah, here you go. So the National Grid was actually the one that basically issued a warning saying that, the grid can't handle this power usage anymore because we just don't have enough. So, I mean, to have the national power grid be like, fam, we can't do this.
Yeah.
But I think
it always seems to be like... Sorry, go on.
No, go on.
It seems to be like the companies that have to like give these warnings, because it's like the Bank of England are like saying, oh, we can't deal with this, we're going to stop like these loan things. And then it's the energy companies that are like, no, we need some kind of solution here. It's like they always seem to get to say, the government just like kind of reacts to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Shockingly shit. I think it does speak volumes of kind of how bad this country's state and how bad the government as well, not just Conservatives or Labour or anything like that, but just the whole system itself is so broken that for the first time since like war times, the UK is going to be without power, and there have to be things in place to help the elderly and things like that. It's a very, I would say scary time, but I think more anxiety inducing than anything, because I mean, how do you contact family members? Well, I use my phone, or I use that stuff. Well, all the signal towers are going to be out, so it's like, how do you make sure people are okay? So I think
a lot of people aren't going to understand what it's actually like until it starts happening, and then people will realize how much they rely on things like this.
Absolutely.
What the reach of things are affected by it.
Yeah, because I think it's a huge system as well. So I mean, there's a lot of stuff I think a lot of people take for granted, including me, that I probably wouldn't even think about until I've lost it. So I was having a chat with one of my uncles about this, and he was sort of the mindset of that between 3 and 7 should be the only time we have power. And when I questioned him on it, I was kind of like, well, that's a bit fucking extreme. And he went, well, no, that's what happened in the war. That's what we had to do. You had 3 hours a day of power, and that was it. Nothing else. So, I mean, he said, he kind of looked at it from the other side of it, being like, well, I think this is kind of unique, and kind of you're very lucky to have power all day, bar those 3 hours. So, I mean, maybe that's a way that if this does become a reality and we have these rolling blackouts, maybe that's a good way to look at it. Is it could have been 3 hours a day instead of.
I suppose
20.
that generation is like used to. They've got the kind of wartime ethics, haven't they?
Yeah.
And then I suppose it's the kind of 20th century or 21st century be like a century of new things happening. So we had a pandemic for our generation, had for that's been as big as and blackouts, leadership, social media. It's all like firsts, isn't it? It's an interesting time to be alive, definitely. And I do wonder what will happen in, like, say, the next century. Or.
What could be coming round the corner?
Oh yeah, what is happening? Because if we're already kind of nothing can go without being seen these days, and it's like we're just so reliant on power and everything else. Maybe a few step backs will kind of help us in the future. Make us a bit more sufficient.
Yeah.
But we'll see. We're definitely in a TikTok age. What will all the TikTok stars do?
They're going to struggle.
Yeah.
How will I ever perform my dances for millions?
You have like the Victorian era, the Elizabethan, now it'd be TikTok arena.
It would be pretty amusing.
Facebook Athena era. Twitter age.
I personally think people being without power for a few hours might actually do the world some good.
Oh god, yeah.
Bring you back to reality.
Yeah, actually, not communicate with all your fans online. Just talk to the people around you.
Yes, talk to family.
Just for a little bit,
Yeah.
Doesn't help those with long distance friendships and stuff.
Yeah, that's going to be a bit tricky.
Yeah.
But no. So
we'll find a way.
But again, if anyone is interested, I've left a link down below to one article, but I highly recommend looking at Project or Program Yarrow. It'll just give you all the details for what might happen if you live in the UK especially. Might just be an idea to have some plans in place just in case. I know some people have got out and bought generators. Obviously that's not available for everyone. They cost a lot.
Solar panels and everything, all the rest of it.
So yeah.
Very expensive initial buy.
It is, yeah. I mean, in the long run it works, but the price in it originally is just ridiculous. But do you want to talk about your ministers? Oh
yeah, well, I was just going to mention the good old Matt Hancock. And the fact that he's signed up for I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here.
He got didn't he get suspended?
I think he's still serving right now, and it's just so weird because it's like after everything we've been through in this country, just nothing shows a lack of taste. Just considering yourself a celebrity, and going on all these reality shows. Obviously, he's trying to prove what a good person he is. After he, not only probably potentially killed tens of thousands of people in care homes, just by one decision.
Yeah.
He also, broke his own rules and cheated on his wife, which is it's like a mega whammy in one.
Yeah.
By a woman, he cheated with a woman he employed. It's just several levels of wrong, isn't it? But yeah, so the fact that he's kind of just going on these reality shows just shows it's just another peg on the system of they don't care about us, nothing they do. I'm glad he can see that it was all a joke and that he can just go on these funny things.
Yeah.
When there are people out there mourning the loss of their grandparents because they were dying in the care homes when he sent them back in.
Yeah.
And then he's expecting people to vote for him, save him. It's just the principle of it, and people will be like, "Oh, I can't wait to see him eating testicles in the jungle." I'm not even bothered about that.
I'm kind of
I wish he just didn't go in.
It's just do your fucking job. How about that? You're
a
celebrity. You are a government official.
And there's like an inquest right now about the handling of the whole crisis. Surely he should be in the country to deal with any of that, because I'm sure there'll be a lot of questions for him.
Yeah. I don't know. I think it's just fucking ridiculous. I haven't watched I'm a Celebrity in a long time, and I think one of the biggest problems with it now is that they just grab anyone that's got any kind of sort of news around them, right? That's the goal, just to get as many eyes on it as possible. And I think they knew if they get Matt Hancock on, a lot of people, like you say, are going to watch it because they want to watch him,
Yeah, I know, they want to watch him,
go through crap. But I mean, more importantly, shouldn't he be just doing his fucking job and trying to, help the country build up from the mess that he left it in, along with Boris and Liz and all these others? I think it's a bit ridiculous to have a government official doing something like that.
But he's obviously started this like sympathy campaign about how he's going in to spread awareness for dyslexia and how he can bring politics into like normal people's lives, because people don't watch politics things. Yeah. But I think if people are interested in politics, they do watch things and they keep up to date with things. And as far as dyslexia, I'm not denying he has dyslexia. It's very fair enough to spread the message.
Yeah.
But you can't. He's obviously going into like a charm offensive and try and make people like him again, because he can't stand the fact that people hate him.
I think that's definitely a good point. I mean, we talked briefly about this before we started the podcast, but obviously we both watch occasional episodes of The Diary of a CEO. Great YouTube channel. Go and check it out. But he had Matt Hancock on there, and I've watched probably about the first 40 minutes or so of it. And, he admittedly, I can't remember the guy's name that runs it, but, he...
Is it Steve Bartlett or something?
Yeah, Steve Bartlett or something. But he threw a lot of good questions at Matt Hancock. He wasn't holding back, He was like, well, you're trying to get sympathy, aren't you? You're trying to change the narrative and stuff. And Matt Hancock is very much trying to make it like a woe is him story. Like, oh, no, I grew up poor. Anyone can get into politics. Why can't you get into politics? And Steve brought up something very important as well, which was, well, everyone that's in politics is all from the same school. You're all looking out for your friends. You all help each other. And he was like, well, that's... And Matt didn't really have an answer for it. And it just shows how disconnected, that side of things is to normal people. And I think I do highly recommend people watch it, because especially if you live in the UK, it's definitely a fun one to watch Matt squirm.
I know, because he can't, hide behind the guise of being a politician, although once you're a politician, you can always have that kind of knack for avoiding questions.
Yeah. Well, that's like the first thing they teach you, I think.
Oh, yeah.
So.
In Eton Politicians Club Society. Future MPs. But yeah. I don't know about any of the ministers.
Yeah, I think it's mostly just people getting and resigning.
Yeah.
I think it's shot. I think, to be honest, I think the scariest thing about any kind of politics now, whether it be UK or, if you go over to America as well, it's all fucked. It's all completely falling apart and crumbling. And if you look at history is repeating itself. It gets to a point where it just doesn't work anymore and it crumbles and the people take over. And that's just, I feel like we're on the verge of something like that happening soon, in the next decade or so. Because this is just, it's getting to a point where, people are suffering so much when they shouldn't be, and it needs to be addressed. So, yeah.
Well, obviously, on a separate tangent, there is the Ukraine war still going on, and it's, people will say, "Oh, you don't mention it." Well, there's no reason for us to mention it, really, because it's kind of just
same stuff
in progress, all the same stuff, kind of thing. But obviously, it seems like there's a little bit of a turning point with attitudes of Russian people, because there's a lot of kind of protesters, and there's a lot of changing of heads of generals and things like that. It seems like there may be a little bit of a shift in attitude, and when it comes to kind of mobilization, that a lot of the young Russian guys are trying to escape. I believe I read a story this morning where a protester's family have been denied citizenship, and it's been stripped away from them. That's actually quite a good outcome for them. That was a reward, not a punishment. But, little to they know. But yeah, it's still ongoing, still dreadful. The attacks still, but I mean, the stockpile of ammunition and weapons that Putin must be dwindling. So, and he's still kind of going on with this rhetoric, but I think nobody can be sure what's going to happen.
There's been a few good updates in the last couple of hours that we can talk about. So Erdogan and Putin. So there's like, I believe Erdogan is Putin's sort of right-hand man, essentially. But they've agreed to send Russian grains to African countries for free to try and build up a bit of respect.
Make it seem like they're
But Putin also called for a forcible evacuation of Kherson.
Yeah.
So he's forcing his troops to leave now as well. But Russia has said that they are threatening to shoot deserters as moral plummeters. So,
I think that the leading controversial general of the new general of the Russian army has taken a 3-week holiday now.
Yeah, funny that.
Funny how we can do that when men are dying.
I think he's fucking off quickly because he knows that he can't win it.
Yeah, they try and go on a holiday and it's never come back.
But China
he fell out on plane.
China and Germany actually came out as well today as well. It was actually only about 2 hours ago that said that they oppose any nuclear arms being used. Because obviously Putin is still threatening to use nuclear arms. In fact, that's got so close now that the UK, America, and NATO have been running drills for nuclear attacks. So, I mean,
I think
shows
part of it is kind of regular schedule stuff that
some of it is.
It's not too much cause for alarm, but yeah.
Don't start freaking out or anything. Again, if China is telling Putin, don't fucking throw one, I don't think he's going to throw one.
Yeah. And the fact that they're still kind of informing each other about these drills and stuff kind of eases the mind a little bit that, things aren't escalating to that extent where they're just, doing these drills and not going anywhere.
But yeah. I think that it's interesting to hear that, China's leader, Xi, is obviously warning Putin not to use nuclear arms, considering the fact that apparently through this they've been quite distant as well. So when it first started, obviously they were buddy, but now it seems like Xi Jinping has kind of backed off a bit and kind of gone, you're not good for business. You're threatening nuclear war. That hurts all of us. So I mean, it's again, I'll leave an article down below just in case people want to go check it out. But yeah, definitely an interesting time for Putin.
I know, yeah. Very testing time.
He's pulling his own troops out of the front line.
I know, and he's called for a modernization of Russian equipment as well. I've read that somewhere. But how long is that going to take?
Exactly. But I also think as well there's been pictures and things that have been leaking onto the internet of showing evidence that Putin has Parkinson's or something like that. I think we can speculate all day that Putin's health is not good or that it's not going in the direction he'd hope. But I think more than anything, he's just a psychopath with a lot of power. I don't think it matters if he's ill or not. I don't think he gives a shit about anything.
No.
He kind of we've talked about it before on whether or not he'll throw a nuke or actually throw a nuclear weapon. I think that term as well, nuke, is very different to what it was 50 years ago. Nuclear weapons now are a lot smaller. They're a lot more compact. They're not as big, but they are just as damaging, of course. But I mean, he's used every other type of bomb. He's used fire. He's used chemical warfare. He's used, Sargon gas. He's used everything. So I mean,
some of them will be debatable, comparable to nukes with the techniques and stuff and how they explode, and some of them suck the air out of the whole atmosphere and then implode.
Sean.
Hello.
We lost you for a second. Yeah, we lost you for a second. But yeah, you were talking about the vacuum bomb.
Yeah, that one.
Yeah, right.
Probably the closest thing to a nuke they can use, isn't it? But it's just very dirty, isn't it?
Yeah, and it breaks many war crimes. I mean, he's broken so many at this point.
I think they accused the British Navy of sabotaging the gas pipelines, the Nord Stream 1.
Yeah.
Which is interesting.
We didn't, by the way.
We didn't.
So that we could get their fucking oil, hence why the energy crisis. So
try and make it seem like he didn't want us to have the oil when we're all pulling back from using that oil anyway.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, it's definitely a scary time, and kind of with everything going on there, it's obviously petrifying. But I think in the long run, this is just kind of what we're going to be dealing with for a while until someone fucking kills him. Although the problem is you don't want him to be killed, because if he's killed, someone else will just replace him and carry it on. So there needs to be...
You want the attitudes to change.
Yeah, we need to change the attitude and the way of how Russia is run and how it works, and that is just going to come with time.
It needs to just kind of open up to the entire world, and I don't know. The Russians need to see what the world is like outside of Russia, really.
Yeah, and I mean, again, more praise goes to the Russian people for standing up to Putin and telling them and arguing the way they do is fucking
when the
brave.
stakes are so high for them.
Yeah, brave. So, and again to Ukraine, fucking as we always say, hearts and prayers go out to them because they're fighting to keep their freedom. So, which is disgusting in 2022, but there we are. It's almost like America and women's rights.
Who'd have thought it? Whilst it's a century of news, it's also a century of olds. In the fact that we don't learn from our mistakes.
Yeah, like I said, it's just like a vicious cycle. We humans just never fucking learn.
Humans just destroy, pillage, die.
It's what we do best.
Save our souls. I'm turning to God.
Stop praying.
Is there any other news things, good sir?
I do not have any more news things, so we can go on to things. Why don't we go into things watched? Because I got some film news as well that we can talk about and stuff. So, what have you been watching, good sir?
Well, I got through a season of Dexter New Blood. Well, as I say a season, it's the last season. It's a kind of a one-off season, like set 10 years after the original ending, which kind of divided a lot of people. Yeah. I think this one is really did kind of change perspectives on the original series. It's a much better ending, although still kind of has a few flaws for me, for my personal preferences. But those first 9 episodes were super good. Then episode 10 is a little bit but there's so many things that I kind of introduced in that season, obviously, that weren't talked about or kind of delved into in the original one, like the fact that he has a son and stuff like that, and who was kind of born in the same way he was. Maybe he, got some kind of urges. His grown-up son now, which about 17. All the kind of thing that he's, I don't know if I really want to go into too much spoilers and stuff, but it's 10 years of no killing after the original series. So there's also that kind of element of, can he switch from being not a killer to a killer again? And if he does, is it going to be sloppy? Is he going to mess things up? And there's a whole kind of dynamic with his relationship with the police chief in that little city and stuff. Yeah. It's very lots of elements of interest there. So it's kind of a really good balance of things, and I quite enjoyed it. A better send off than season 8 of the original series. So I'd recommend any Dexter fan to watch that. I don't think he's coming back for another one, which is a shame because I would like it to continue. Maybe there will be a spin-off in the future with the son, but we'll see. Yes, is there anything you've been watching, good sir? I've got a few more, but
I've just got a couple of things. I've been watching through Misfits again, a very old Channel 4 series that came out. I think it was back in 2005, 2006, something like that.
Yeah.
So that was cool. I watched season 1 of that. That's fun. It's kind of based on these young offenders that end up getting powers from a weird storm that comes over. It's very enjoyable. It's on all 4.
It's a really good concept, isn't it? I never really watched it.
It's very good. I mean, it's very vulgar, very, early 2000s and kind of that British humour kind of thing. But when you get past that kind of stuff, there's a lot of really good moral messaging in there. And I think that's the irony of it, is a lot of people that watch the show kind of see the vulgarity of it and kind of go, well, that's just fucking gross. But
yeah. Do you think it kind of inspired the kind of things that came ahead where superheroes aren't like the idols we thought they were?
Yeah, exactly. It's super. Well, I mean, it's got there before The Boys and all the other stuff. So I mean, it's definitely an interesting take to see a bunch of young offenders with these powers and not knowing what to do with them, how it changes their lives, and watching them change as people and become better but not through the normal means, but obviously a ridiculous over the top kind of way. But it's still fascinating. There's some great actors in there as well. One of them went on to be in one of the most evil fucking people in Game of Thrones. Another one is in the Umbrella Academy. These were really good actors at the time. So
yeah, kind of started off their careers, isn't it?
Yeah. So yeah, I've been enjoying watching through that, and of course I watched Hairspray again. Love that film. It's a great film.
Okay.
And the last film that I watched was Prisoners of the Ghostland, Nicolas Cage film. Fucking insanity. Makes no sense. There's logically no plot. It's just Nicolas Cage for an hour and a half. So,
fair enough.
It was very fun to watch.
Yeah, all those films are pretty fun.
Yeah, he lost a testicle as well. That was interesting.
Oh, I've seen this one coming up where he's like dressed as a vampire. I don't know what that's about.
I hope he does another Vampire's Kiss. But, yeah, no, it was a very interesting film, so I recommend that to people.
I watched Halloween Ends at the cinema. It was a lot of people are divided on it, but I quite enjoyed. Looking back on it, I enjoyed it. I think as soon as I watched it, I was like, "Oh, it's a 5 out of 10."
Yeah.
But now that I'm kind of looking back on it, I think it's about a 6. Which yeah, I'm not IGN. I don't give everything 9s out of 10. But a 6 is quite good for me for a horror film. So it dares to do something different with the formula. And there's all this whole story about kind of Michael. There's some like supernatural aspect to it. I mean, there's always been like a little unsaid supernatural aspect about him because he's quite, he's been shot, stabbed, everything, and doesn't die. He transcends.
Yeah.
But there's so many kind of things introduced that they don't kind of explore enough, like the whole supernatural aspect of passing his evil into someone else.
Yeah.
They kind of half-heartedly do that, and they don't fully go into it. I kind of wish they did fully go into it. The kind of impact on the town from his disappearance, and people are killing themselves, and like over Michael, just the idea of Michael Myers being around.
Yeah.
They kind of dip into that, but don't really go into it too much. A lot of people were probably disappointed because they thought it was going to be just Laurie versus Michael for the whole 1 hour. But no, that's kind of like the beginning, yeah, the end, yeah. But they tried to kind of put this different story between, of kind of a new Michael Myers, which is it's interesting and it's different and refreshing, but also doesn't quite work how they probably fully intended it to.
Yeah.
But I think as it ages, I think people look back and say that it was quite a good one because Halloween Kills was disappointing for me. I didn't really enjoy that one. Yeah. And that was probably the perfect Halloween movie because it's just killing.
I mean, I think from what I've heard from all 3 of these films is they're absolutely nothing to do with each other. Like the stringing them together, how the story is meant to be. It's like Laurie in the first one is like all about going after Michael. The second one, she's kind of still on that, I'm going to go after him. And then the third one, she just completely fucking writes it off and is just like, nah, I'm going to chill and retire.
There are some questionable things.
But apparently there were different writers for all the films, so that maybe is why that cohesion is so all over the place.
Yeah, a lot of things just like they make sense in the franchise, but not in that order.
Yeah, it's
like she should have been the one. She should have been like after killing Michael Myers in the third one, and like maybe retired in the first one because he's in jail.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a bit kind of head scratchy why she's just so like I'm just gonna forget about all that and just be nice, live a nice, happy life. Like Jamie Lee Curtis brings her all to it, and she is like probably still the best thing about the film. You can tell she's just the best actress in this role, and as she should be from the start.
Yeah.
But it's these questionable writing decisions, I suppose.
Yeah, because I mean the 50th anniversary of Halloween is coming up as well, so I imagine they'll probably just do a new set of films, but go off of the 50th.
Yeah, everyone says so. Yeah. Halloween ends here, but I mean, it will continue.
I think with something like this as well. I mean, because this trilogy was continued off the first film, wasn't it? It ignored all the others. It was just a continuation from that.
Yeah.
And I think, from what I know, from what they've done with the last film, you have about until you get to the end of the film, like the last 10 minutes, there's maybe about 2 minutes fully that you see Michael Myers, like actual Michael Myers, and even then you don't really see him. He lives in a sewer.
Yeah.
So I mean, the entire point of the film, the killer, isn't even in the fucking film for very long. So
yeah,
I mean, I guess it's an interesting take to try and maybe get someone else to become Michael in a sense, because they're corrupt, like you say, having that supernatural sort of element to it. And that could have been an interesting take, but I mean, you know, if they didn't really fully lean into it, I mean, you can't do stuff like that half.
Yeah, it's kind of like, I'm not too mad about not seeing a lot of Michael. I think you see enough of him.
Yeah.
And the whole kind of, the whole idea of Michael Myers is there. But yeah, I can see why some people were probably a bit upset.
Yeah.
Oh well, upset.
But, I mean, I
but,
think, yeah, I mean, if you don't like the films, there's plenty of Halloween films you can go and watch that have loads of
I know, yeah.
So, I mean, you're fine.
It's just that kind of daring to do something different was probably quite
controversial.
Probably what sold it a little bit more for me. So
yeah, I mean, it is nice to see them trying something different. I think when you just do the same old formula, it can get quite boring, and but it's doing it different, but giving it justice. You know.
It did almost feel like they tried to cram in a reboot within the reboot with this kind of new Michael, but it doesn't really go anywhere, like in the end. But you know, spoiler alert. No, it's not too.
We'll have to see what they do with it in the future. Hopefully, they'll do something interesting.
Yeah, I'm sure there will be spin-offs, but without Jamie Lee.
Yeah, I think Jamie Lee's packing it in now.
Yeah, I mean, bloody hell. 40 years of playing the same character. Well, you know. Yeah, she's an icon though, so, and she's getting her. I think she's already got a star on the Walk of Fame.
Yes,
which it obviously means nothing, but you know, it's very good for her.
Yeah. So me and you also watched The Naked Gun 2.
Oh yes, absolutely.
Did watch those. Very funny.
Very funny, yeah.
Films. I mean, I have that kind of stupid humor though, so I mean that's why I adore them. But they are.
Yeah, I mean, just that whole series, we could tell the origins of the whole kind of scary movie parody style of film.
3 definitely.
It's just so similar. Yeah. Oh yeah, 3.
So much more in 3 that was scary movie rather than Naked Gun.
Yeah, I would say the first Naked Gun is probably the best one, and then the third one I enjoyed for kind of the more kind of leading into that scary movie aspect. Yeah. Second one was good, but it's kind of a bit, bit lackluster.
Definitely.
But yeah, anyone who enjoys scary movie or just Leslie Nielsen in general, his persona just shines through in these films, and it's just so funny.
He's such a funny man. Like he's so good.
And it's so quotable as well, and things that you've been using for years that you didn't realize that.
Oh, the fucking slap thing!
Yeah,
I love it so quickly.
You realize what they're from.
Oh. I remember when we were sitting there, we were watching 3, and that slap happened. I was like, "Fuck me, that's where it's from."
Yeah.
It's like, God damn it, I've been using this gift for years. But yeah, no, definitely a good film. We also finally finished Scream, the most recent Scream, which I'll be honest, I really liked it. I think I kind of wish they'd maybe tried to go a little bit differently. I guessed one of the killers straight away. I say one of them. If you haven't watched a Scream film, then yes.
Yeah, they're pretty much it's pretty much the rules as always do. I'm the other one.
But yeah, I mean, good acting. It was done well. It was done respectfully. Definitely a few shock moments. But yeah, I mean, I think personally, one of the character deaths could have been a little better. Getting distracted by a phone. Bit fucking stupid considering you've done these. So I kind of feel like he could have been given a little bit better. But definitely still good. It was still fun. I enjoyed it. They did a good job of portraying Wes's original kind of take on Scream along with trying to do little different things.
Yeah.
I mean, how many more prequel, sequels can they make?
Yeah, well, the next one's going to be a requel sequel, and they're probably the rules of the requel sequel. They'll kind of not parody, but satire that.
All the fucking dialogue is just going to be explaining what a requel sequel is.
Yeah, I liked the new Scream film, but I didn't love it.
I definitely still stand by the original is the best.
Oh yeah, I'm very excited to see where they go with it. I didn't hate it enough to that's it now. Yeah, Ghostface is still an icon, and
yeah, absolutely.
He still has a place in my heart.
I would definitely say
I've just packed away his masks from Halloween.
Oh. I mean, I would definitely say the first Scream
back in the cupboard.
10 out of 10. First Scream 10 out of 10 for me, but this Scream, if I had to sort of gauge it on the same thing, I'd give it probably like a 5 or 6. It was still good. It was still fun. I enjoyed seeing the originals come back and have a moment of being back in it.
Yeah,
and they definitely.
It's all about kind of passing the torch and stuff, isn't it? But it just lacks that kind of Scream edge for me. But they were quite safe in the apart from killing Dewey, but yeah, I don't know.
I mean,
it's
the
quite
gore,
safe sequel.
The one thing I will talk about is the gore. I don't know if Scream really needs a huge amount of gore. I mean, to be fair, it was just the sound effects and stuff were great, but sometimes I think they kind of. I mean, I'm not saying I don't like gore. I don't appreciate blood and guts, but I think just sometimes it felt a little bit ridiculous. I mean, I know that's the point of Scream.
Yeah, people die.
There's a certain amount of ridiculousness before you go, for fuck's sake, this is stupid now. So
yeah.
Like
I think because
following a wheelchair-bound person.
Yeah.
I mean, I get it, and it's.
It was all about that kind of tension, and I don't think they've done something like that before. It's all about kind of doing the same thing but in different ways, I suppose.
Yeah.
And things that people may not have seen before.
Definitely wasn't the worst thing I've ever seen, but yeah.
But yeah, I'll always be very a little bit divided on it, torn in my mind. But yeah, I mean,
especially if
they did a good job, but I'm looking forward to the next one.
Yeah,
probably.
Hopefully, anything they can sort of improve on, they'll do it in the next one.
Yeah.
But yeah. Anything else that you've watched, good sir?
Yes, but not written down.
Okay. That's fine.
So please, if you've got anything else.
So I've just got two pieces of sort of film news that we could have a chat about and discuss. So
yes.
The first thing is Henry Cavill is actually officially leaving The Witcher. He's done season 3. That's it. He's left. He's quit.
Okay.
He's quit, so Liam Hemsworth is taking over for him.
Okay.
There's been a lot of division over this. Henry Cavill did state that he was willing to do all 7 seasons of The Witcher if the writers respected the source.
7 seasons.
Yeah, that's what they were planned. But he was willing to do them all as long as the writers respected the material. But apparently the writers don't care for it and they don't give a shit. So they basically just told Henry to piss off. And Henry,
so they kind of have different ideas.
Henry, being the wonderful human he is, has been very gracious about it and obviously very patient, but obviously the fans have been very angry. I mean, literally, he is the perfect Witcher. He's the biggest fan of the games and the books, knows them inside out, and knows how to play Geralt. And you lost him.
Yeah.
But, apparently,
you can't really replace him with Liam Hemsworth.
Yeah. Apparently, Henry has been fighting them since he began playing The Witcher. Since the beginning, he's been trying to fight with the writers and kind of the showrunners to try and get a point across to be like. Because I mean, season 1 was really good. Season 2, yeah, I can see why Henry's leaving, and he's just like, I'm not doing this. This isn't fair. It's very much a different take on a lot of it. Kind of basically, if you're a law nut for The Witcher, you're going to despise season 2, and I imagine season 3 is going to be much of the same, which is why Henry has stepped down. So a lot of fans have petitioned to fire the writers and get Henry back in, but that's just not going to happen. Let's be real here. Netflix are not going to do that.
Yeah.
The likelihood
those who bark the loudest.
Yeah, I imagine what's going to happen is season 4 will come out with Liam, it'll be hated, and Netflix will cancel their plans for 7 seasons. That's my guess. I'm not saying Liam Hemsworth couldn't do a good job. I think he would actually make a fairly decent young Geralt. But I think trying to replace Henry Cavill, especially halfway through your plans, that's going to make it very difficult.
Yeah.
So we'll see. Hopefully, I'm looking forward to season 3. But I mean, if he's left, then I mean it's fairly obvious that he wasn't happy.
Yeah.
And I mean, to be fair, for him to walk away from it, it was his dream role. So I mean, they must have pissed him off very badly.
Yeah. So. Yeah. It's always going to be hard to. What the hell is that?
What happened?
But yeah, it's going to be when you have your expectations on things, I suppose it's always very difficult to keep them at that kind of top level, and obviously people will have different opinions. Just watch the podcast and so.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's one of those things. If he's not feeling it anymore, it's better not to force it himself to do it, I suppose. I watched the first season. I quite enjoyed it, but I felt like I was kind of forcing myself to like it a bit because everyone else was doing it. So I haven't really watched any other seasons.
I
But
loved season 1. Season 1 was fantastic. And I've never read the books. I've read the first 2 books now, but I've not read like any of the others. I've played through the 3rd game, but not the 1st and 2nd game. And the first season I really enjoyed. I thought it was brilliant. Lots of action, lots of fantasy stuff. The 2nd season, I get it. They were setting up.
the first.
The 2nd season was kind of them setting up, Vesemir and kind of the Witcher life. So I get why Geralt was kind of pulled out a bit more, and it was kind of more focused on the generalization. But they did get a lot of things wrong, and when you're aware, especially from The Witcher 3, of certain things that just don't add up, it can be a little difficult to separate them. I get it, but it was still good. It was still fun. I still enjoyed it as a series. But I mean, if Henry Cavill has been fighting them for 4 years to try and be more faithful to Geralt and to the law, I mean, I can't blame him for stepping away and being like, well, I had one fucking ask and they didn't even stick to that, so I'm out.
Yeah. It's quite an interesting predicament, the fact that he's basically a fan himself and acts like a genuine fan, not just, playing a role in the movie. Yeah, I'm a fan of the series.
He admits it. He's like, I'm a nerd. I play games and I fucking love Warhammer and I read books and stuff on the game, so...
Like, I was watching an interview with some of the Jurassic World Dominion cast, some of the newbies, and they're like, yeah, I've been a fan of the series since the original, and I can't believe it was set on Isla Nublar, and it's like, no, it's yeah, it is Isla. Oh, then no, they were like Isla Nublar. They were like, no, it's Isla Nublar, and so she doesn't even know the name of the island. That's how much of a fan she is.
Yeah,
it's like, yeah, you can tell how much people are faking it these days with certain roles, and obviously, you gotta like the series, otherwise. Yeah. They wouldn't get that paycheck and get the role.
I mean, Henry Cavill was a fantastic Geralt, so I think it is definitely a shame to see him walk away from that role. He embodied Geralt probably better than anyone ever could. Again, being a fan, it helps.
Yeah, emphasis on body.
But Liam Hemsworth has said that he's a fan of the material. He hasn't played the games, but he has read the books. He does enjoy Geralt. He loves him as a character. And I mean, Henry, again, was very gracious. I'll try and see if I can find Henry and Liam's tweets. Or Instagram post, and I'll put them on screen for you guys. But they are, he's being very respectful. He's not being an arsehole about it. He's just like, do you know what? I don't want to do it anymore. I'm going to walk away. Also, though, linked to that, it's obviously come forward that he's now Superman again. And he's taking that role on again. I won't say how I found that out, because obviously that was actually a major leak that shouldn't have happened. So I'm not going to give
something regarding a recent film.
Yes, but I'm not going to give any context into that stuff. I'm just going to all I'll say is we know he's coming back as Superman, as well as Ben Affleck as Batman.
Yeah, it's Batman.
So that's going to be interesting. I'm glad.
I didn't realize any of them left, to be honest.
Well, I think after Justice League and all the fucking mess that took,
that was kind of the end of it.
Yeah, they kind of left. But I mean, and now you've got James Gunn co-running DCEU. So, and that man knows how to write and direct. So
yeah.
I think he's going to definitely guide it in the right way. But, yeah.
I suppose it would be a sin if we didn't talk about Doctor Who.
Oh, yeah.
So,
I think it's
Doctor Who has had one of its famous regeneration scenes, at very pinnacle points in the series.
Yeah.
That never ends. Yeah. So obviously Jodie Whittaker is no more and has been replaced temporarily by the David Tennant. David Tennant.
I mean, right. Let's.
It's quite a shock to some fans.
Yeah, it's definitely a shock because he's not meant to have the same face. But no. I get why, because apparently, I always forget how to pronounce his name, and I feel awful because he's such a great actor. But the guy that is taking over, he wasn't available next year. So the idea is that because Russell T Davies now, thank fuck, he's taken back over it, because dear God, everyone else ruined it. But he's come back to take over, and I get the best way to describe it. I saw a video the other day. It was described as the Bridge Doctor. So Tennant has 3 specials next year, and then it'll hand off to the new Doctor.
Okay, that's cool.
So I get why Russell's done that. A lot of people were quite upset seeing David back because, he's the greatest. It's kind of like a nostalgia trip. Everyone loved him. But people think, oh, fuck, they must be desperate. But I get it, because Russell T Davies didn't want to have another person as the Doctor because he chose his Doctor. It's just his Doctor wasn't available. So what do? Well, okay, let's bring back a fan favourite for 3 specials, bridge that gap, then bring the new Doctor in.
Yeah.
He's going to be in the special. We've already seen the trailer for it. So I think that's a clever way of doing it.
Yeah, they have done it very cleverly, and I think just nostalgia sells very well these days. People love to see old things coming back. So yeah, they've done the right choice here. I think they're probably trying to get new people in to watch Doctor Who.
Yeah,
again, because I think after the previous couple of seasons, probably dropped off a little bit.
The ratings were bad. I mean, again, Jodie Whittaker is a great actor. It's just the showrunners were shit. They didn't know what the fuck.
Yeah.
I mean, they made it out like Jodie Whittaker wasn't a Time Lord. The entire point of Doctor Who. And you
just any scenes I've watched from the Jodie Whittaker season have just made me cringe really hard. Even the ending.
I mean, I get it. That was kind of her thing, but I remember watching it. Me and Vic watched it, and we were like, "Okay, I'll watch the regeneration scene because I really don't give a shit about anything else, and it'd be cool to see what Swissy is going to do." And yeah, when it was David, it was like, what? I thought he just had a cameo in this episode. I didn't realize he was fucking taking over.
Yeah.
So yeah, interesting choice, but I think Russell T Davies made the right choice there.
Yeah, I'll be more likely to watch the next 3 episodes anyway.
I mean, again,
maybe then I'll get hooked again. Don't know.
Yeah, I'm excited. I mean, they are calling the new Doctor the 15th Doctor. Again, breaks the laws, but I'm sure Russell will find a way to make it work. He did. I mean, he brought it back in 2005. You know, he managed to spin off an 18+ series, Torchwood, as well as, you know, writing the face of Beau as Captain Jack Harkness, and knew that from the start. Like, it's very, very clever, and he's a very talented showrunner. So I imagine, he'll be able to say, if anyone can save the show, he can. But yeah, definitely an interesting. I mean, do you think you're going to actually go back and watch Doctor Who now, or do you think
I might go and watch the David Tennant ones just for nostalgia purposes? But I don't know if I'll be fully a fan again. I think I stopped watching after the previous David Tennant reign and Torchwood after that.
Yeah.
And then I just kind of stopped, kind of lost interest in Doctor Who. I think Torchwood was like felt more like an adult Doctor Who, which is like I really liked. But yeah, I think it's just me too. Maybe he will.
Maybe.
But yeah, as far as becoming a fan again, I really don't know about that. I think it's not very likely, but fair play. They can. It will, yeah. And maybe I will. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'll love it, but I don't know. I doubt it. I'm being polite.
Up Doctor Who because I would have forgotten and Robin would have.
I know. I just literally when you talk, when you're talking about Henry Cavill leaving and being replaced with someone else, I was like, shit, that reminds me.
But I mean, yeah, definitely, it's going to be interesting to see David back, especially, you know, I think it's about 12 years since he left. So he's I think
still looking good.
He still looks so good, man. The man just doesn't age. He ages like fine wine.
Yeah,
I'd still.
It's nice to see him. Nice to see him back and like acting in things. Well, I suppose he has been in lots of things, but I've just not watched them.
Definitely enjoy it. I think his first few lines were definitely. Very important.
It will make or break the season.
Doing the teeth thing and going, I know these teeth, and then the face, and then what? So it was like, he's back.
He's back.
It was definitely interesting.
His mannerisms.
Yeah, and I enjoyed it. So it's gonna be. I'm gonna try and drag myself through the other seasons of Doctor Who to catch up. But,
no, just don't.
I mean, I don't. Really
it's too late to catch up.
But. Well, I've only got one more bit of film news, which is the return to Silent Hill film. So Silent Hill's obviously now got a new film coming out, as well as 2 new games, but we'll get onto that.
I know about the games, but I didn't realise about the film.
Yeah, the film is going to be based on the second game as well. Finally!
Holy.
Fucking about time. So, yeah, I'm quite excited for that. It's definitely going to be a change, because, I mean, I enjoyed, personally, as someone that hadn't played through the Silent Hill games at the time, I enjoyed the original film that they brought out for it. But I can understand now I've started playing through Silent Hill 1 and I'm going through all the Silent Hill games, which we'll talk about. It's definitely a very big departure. It's very different. So same sort of premise, chasing, a parent going after their child and finding themselves in Silent Hill. It's slightly warped, but yeah, I'm excited. It should be an interesting film, so hopefully they cast right and do it justice.
Yeah, hopefully do it justice, because video games that turn into films or vice versa, always a little bit sketchy, but we'll see.
I mean, The Witch is probably the most successful, I think, out of all of them. Need for Speed had an adaptation with Aaron Paul. That was awful.
Yeah.
Resident Evil, that's never gone well.
Uncharted.
Uncharted, no.
Tomb Raider.
Tomb Raider, do you know what? Tomb Raider wasn't terrible. I didn't mind that, but they kind of relied too heavy. This is the problem. There's a fine balance between relying on everything from the game and nothing. And the Tomb Raider film just had moments from the game. It was like, oh, do you remember the plane part? Oh, do you remember this part in the waterfall? Like, it's kind
of mashed everything together.
And then people who've not seen the games just go, what the fuck's this? You have to have a fine balance.
Mumbo jumbo.
Yeah, there has to be a fine balance, a good mix. So, yeah. But that's it.
Well, that is an excellent segue into games, then.
Yeah, let's go into games. So, what have you been playing?
Yeah, I suppose just... the Silent Hill game is coming out at some point.
Next, I think Silent Hill 2, the remake.
Silent Hill 2.
Year. That's the remake for Silent Hill 2. That's coming out next year. I think the other game will be coming out in 2024. I think.
Yeah.
So that's my guess anyway.
But my friends who came down the other day, they were interested in that. I watched the trailer with them, and it looks very good. It's very scary and interesting. I know there's... Obviously not related, but Resident Evil 4 is getting a remake as well. That looks super good.
That actually is. Those two are probably the only two games I give a shit about next year.
Yeah.
I mean, Dead Space. That's cool, but
yeah. Callisto Protocol looks really good as well.
That's coming out in 20 days. 27.
Bloody God of War is out now, isn't it? Or is it?
Yeah, I think God of War came out. Wait, is it the 4th or the 8th? It's coming out.
I don't know.
Oh, fuck. Anyway, so Silent Hill.
Anyway. But yeah, it's interesting that the Resident Evil, they got a DLC for 8 as well, and you can play in third person and stuff. Mia Winter's expansion. Yeah. I've seen little bits of that, but one day I will play it myself, so I'm not going to fully watch it all.
Josh very kindly sent me the money to be able to buy it, so I've yet to play through it just yet, but I do plan on playing that at some point.
That'd be a good one.
Be exciting.
Yeah, so I'm very much intrigued in playing those, and in third person mode as well. It'd be interesting.
Yeah.
Back to kind of the old fashioned days.
It's definitely interesting.
I have been playing with the DC theme, Gotham Knights, which is I was quite pleasantly surprised with it. Obviously, performance issues aside, we'll park that one for a bit. But the story is quite good. You get a lot of kind of Ra's al Ghul and stuff like that, and kind of villains you may not have been expecting in there. Harley Quinn, Clayface, etc. But they do them all quite interestingly. I can't really complain with how they've done it. The story with all the four knights, Batgirl, Robin, Nightwing, and Red Hood, they are very... It's nice to see them all interacting with each other, and I know if like you do co-op, then they interact with each other on missions as well. It's like quite well done. All four characters have like unique skill sets and abilities and stuff. They all feel quite fresh and different, which is nice. Traversals are a bit meh, and it's a bit questionable why you don't get those abilities at the start. You have to kind of grind to unlock them a bit, but I enjoyed the gameplay. I quite enjoyed the story. Is it 10 out of 10? No. It's kind of more of a filler game, a bit like Dying Light 2 was, while you wait for the the juicy ones. But yeah, I enjoyed it. If you're a fan of like DC's Arrow series and Flash series, it reminded me exactly of that, where you're kind of meeting up at the headquarters and then going out and do little patrols and little missions. Like, the stakes aren't massive, but it is nice to see like a video game version of a CW Arrow series or something like that. Yeah. I think a lot of people really like it. And it's good that it's co-op as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, the performance issues are a bit disappointing if the fact that it runs at 30 frames on PS5. It was a bit jarring at first, but you get used to it if you're intrigued in the story and stuff. But yeah, apparently it doesn't really perform very well on PC either. Like lots of people are getting drops down to the 20s, even if they've got the best quality computer when you can buy GPU and whatever.
Beefy CPU and GPU.
Beefies. So yeah, they must have had some real trouble kind of optimizing that engine that they used, Unreal Engine 4, I think.
It's shocking because Unreal Engine is meant to be one of the easiest ones to work with for developers, apparently. So
I know, yeah.
So
I know a lot of the kind of Arkham series has kind of been a bit of a struggle performance-wise. I think Arkham Knight had a bit of a rocky launch.
Yeah.
So it must just be them how they use it must be quite taxing on PCs and.
Probably.
But yeah, we'll see what the future holds for that. If it'll get 60 frames, of course, because the PS4. It did feel like I was playing a PS4 game a lot of the time with the frame rate, but I mean that's it's not too bad, is it? The gameplay's fun. But yeah, the fact that it was axed on PS4 and it's like just PS5 and it can't even run 30 frames on PS5 and on high-end PCs and stuff like that. It's like
how unoptimized it is. I mean, if it's locked on 30 frames on a PS5, can you imagine?
I know, yeah.
It'd be like Cyberpunk running on PS4.
I know, yeah. Like even that was 60 frames on PS5 to start with.
No.
It's yeah. I'm sure no one's more disappointed about the performance than the devs themselves, but yeah, just it would have been gone up a star if it was ran well. But yeah, pretty decent. If you're a fan of all the DC things, and you get to see quite a fair bit of Batman as well, which is good.
Yeah.
Before death, as it were. Yeah. I won't go into spoilers.
Before death, after death.
Well, I suppose you see him after death in his tutorial bits. That's not really a spoiler.
Yeah, it's true.
But yeah. Yes. I don't know why I've written Doctor Who in the games section. Oh, the Fall Guys have got Doctor Who skins. I suppose that's. There you go.
There you go. That works.
When my friends came down, I played a few classic games.
This should be good.
I can't actually remember one of them, but one of them was Burnout Apocalypse. It's not quite a classic. It's a PS3 game. It's I do look Burnout. It wasn't Burnout. It's Motorstorm. What am I talking about? No. Motorstorm.
No.
I'm changing that right now. Motorstorm Apocalypse. Excuse me. Motorstorm was one of the very first PS3 games I played. Then there was Pacific Rim, and then there's this Apocalypse. But apparently, the Apocalypse one went really under the radar because, for some reason, because it came out around the same time as earthquakes in Japan or something, Shanghai. So it's quite controversial having it released around that time, and people were kind of hating on it as they do, because games are real life.
Oh, of course.
But yeah, it's a really good kind of old style game. It's nice to have a racing game as cinematic as that one. Obviously, buildings are collapsing all around you. It's very apocalyptic, as the name would suggest. I was really surprisingly into it. I haven't really played many classics on the PS5, so it's nice to actually play one.
Yeah.
And it's those kind of games were kind of made for being on a sofa with your friends, playing it together, passing the controller around. Things just aren't like that anymore, it seems. But it was very nostalgic to kind of go back and play a game like that, the way it was meant to be played, it seemed. So yeah, that was really nice. There was another one I played. It was kind of a horror game, but I really can't remember what it was called. So I don't think so. I don't think the sirens are on there for some reason. Well, no, I know the Silent Hills aren't on there. Siren might be.
That's fair.
But yeah, it was like a first-person shooter kind of horror one, which I forget. But that was good as well. I'll rack my brains afterwards. It was good.
Send me when you work out what it is. Send me what it was, and I'll put it on screen.
Yes, please do.
But that's fair.
You are free to chip in when you play.
Well, we've both been delving into the classics. I've been playing through Darkness 1 again. older. It came out on PS3 and Xbox 360, but it was kind of like around the beginning time. Very good classic game. The writing is extremely campy, and it's a very silly game, but it's it is very enjoyable, very fun, very good one to play. It's hard to get hold of now these days, so I'm very glad that I can play it through other means. I do own the disc. I don't have the console anymore. So yeah, but it's fun. Also, another even bigger classic from 1999. Like I said earlier, I've been playing through Silent Hill 1. That's been fun because I always wanted to play through the older games, but I always tend to lose patience when it comes to like puzzles and things like that.
Like the original Resident Evil.
Yeah, I end up getting like, I don't know if frustrated is the right word, but I just get bored, so I end up Googling them. But I must admit, with Silent Hill 1, there's something about the atmosphere, the sound design, everything about it just makes you want to play it and work stuff out yourself. And it's not super difficult. It's not over the top. I was quite proud of myself. There's a section in a school where you have to work out a puzzle between a piano and kind of a poem. And somehow I managed to work it out. And I was quite proud of myself. So yeah, it's definitely a fun game, and I've definitely enjoyed it so far. Fucking horrifying.
If you managed to work it out, my God.
If I can work it out, I can. Seriously. Like, I am the dumbest fucker when it comes to puzzles. But I think it's also because, having a different mentality on kind of older games and stuff, it gives you a bit more appreciation for working stuff out and doing it yourself as well.
Yeah. I remembered what that game was called, by the way.
Go on.
Fear.
Fear! Yeah, the Fear games. They are good.
Yeah.
Fear 1 and 2 are excellent. Fear 3 kind of went off the board a bit. It kind of went too Call of Duty. But Fear 1 is one of the best horror games in the world.
Very scary. Yeah.
One of the best. It gives you a gun and you're still fucking scared. So
yeah.
It's definitely a very good game. I enjoyed that a lot.
You don't need to put it on screen anyway.
No, but I'll still put something up for all the games that we talk about. But it's definitely been a lot of fun to play through that classic, and I'll be playing them all on stream and stuff as well, so that's cool. Again, that is a bitch to get running through all the cables and everything, the classic console. It's not worth the money. Don't do it. It's just not
worth it as a viewer, not as doing it.
Yeah, exactly. Just fucking emulate it. You'll have a better time. But yeah, no, it's definitely been fun to play, and I've dramatically enjoyed doing that. Going back and playing classic games. I've enjoyed playing more classic games recently than I have any kind of like new title that's come out, and it's been cool to go back and play some of my old favorites.
Yeah. It is good to just once in a while just, stop advancing and just go back a little bit.
Cleanse the palate. Enjoy the nostalgia, So,
I mean, I thought I would absolutely hate Gotham Knights of the 30 frames, that kind of trip, but I thought, you know what, you actually do forget about it after a while. And, yeah.
It's definitely a good one.
PSVR 2 release date is next February.
I was going to say, this is the only news I've got for gaming, rather.
So
let's discuss. What do we think? Because they've brought out a lot of information about it now. So it's $550.
Yeah. So it's quite surprised. Well, not really surprised. It is going at high-end piece of equipment, and so that's obviously like the similar price to the console itself. So yeah, it's one of those things probably similar to the R1 for me, where it's eagerly anticipated, but I probably won't get it myself for a long while. But I know some friends have pre-ordered it and they're looking forward to it, and it is just completely different experience than normal gaming. So, but yeah, I'm very excited to play it like through them.
I think it's definitely going to be interesting. I mean, as someone that owns the first PSVR, it's fun. It is enjoyable. It is good. But I think the thing that's stopping me is backwards compatibility. Nothing works from PSVR 1 on PSVR 2.
Yeah.
Nothing. The developers have to upgrade it. I think Pistol Whip, that's been upgraded, so that's cool. If you have it on PlayStation VR, you get a free upgrade kind of thing. But it's basically just down to the developers on whether or not.
Yeah, and a lot of those original ones were kind of like indie style, so they don't have the funds to kind of go back and update it.
I think I definitely won't be getting them straight away because it's just too expensive. And I think by the end of next year, it would have gone down in price anyway. It's kind of like
if people can even get their hands on them, people can't even get their console.
I mean, it's PlayStation VR 1 was the same. It was super expensive and then it went down a lot. So maybe I'll get one, but probably not for a year or two. Just let the price drop. Let a few more games come out for it. So it's a bit more worthwhile investing in something like that. Especially considering apparently the games are not cheap. Like they are very, and I mean more than £70 expensive. So that
there's a lot of kind of brick walls between you and playing the game.
I mean, let's go at the estimates from leaks that bundles have come out. £750 for the headset and one game.
Nah.
That's way too much. So I mean,
what's your average person?
That's just leaks, so that might be rumored. But I think the Horizon Forbidden West game spin-off that's coming out for the PSVR 2, I think that was estimated to be £80, 80 or 90. So I don't know if that's worth it.
No.
But I mean, it's exciting. It's definitely it's the best VR headset on sale because it's got the highest quality 4K imaging and 120 frames and stuff. So it is the best quality headset out there. It's just a lot of money to pump into something like that. Especially, say, someone who wants to get into VR but doesn't have a PS5. Now you've got to buy a PS5, buy the headset, then buy a game. You're looking at over £1,000 easy right there. So
yeah. And I guess it won't just be the headset, there'll be like the different move controls and stuff, I guess.
No,
maybe?
the controllers come with it, apparently.
Oh, right. Okay.
And so will the sensor for it. So, I mean, everything is in the box, so I guess that makes sense at the pricing then. But it's still a lot of money to pump into something, especially when everyone is going through their own struggles right now. So I definitely see Sony lowering the price pretty quickly.
Yeah, and the used market will probably be thriving as well.
Oh, God, that'll be filled to the brim, probably. People will buy it and they'll be like, don't worry.
Well, I can only afford one game for it. It's boring now.
Wish I had that kind of money to buy something like that and go, don't need it anymore, and just fucking give it away. Like, my God.
But yeah, do you have any more gaming things? Okay. Do we have any interesting things to talk about?
Ooh, interesting things? I don't.
Neither do I.
Well, that concludes the podcast.
We're prepared for this.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, what I'm going to start trying to do is try and talk to some of our friends and talk to anyone that watches this as well and see if we can get some interesting things off you guys, because I think that kind of adds a bit to it. I mean, we can always come up with interesting things, but a lot of the times it'll just come back around to the same stuff we've talked about before, and we want to keep this different as well.
There are plenty of things to talk about. It's just kind of when you're trying to force yourself to think of something interesting,
and we're obviously
when
thinking
it doesn't seem very natural. Yeah.
So trying to think of everything is pretty tricky, but
there's our excuses out of the way.
Yeah, there's our excuses. Yeah. Any ideas?
I think we had a beefy podcast anyway, so
yeah. Well, like we said, there's going to be a little bit of a surprise in December, so that'll be good. And we've got one more podcast now, I think, before December as well, if I'm correct in saying that. Let me check. So yeah, we've got one more podcast before December, and then we'll be doing one just before I come up to you. So
okay,
it'll be an interesting one.
Exciting times ahead.
Yes.
Stay tuned, everyone.
I hope you, anyone that watched, again, as always, thank you for watching us and listening to us, or however you consume this podcast. We hope you enjoyed it, as always.
And you're able to see me this time.
Yeah, we made sure it was in the middle of the fucking day this time.
Yeah.
So, yeah, but thank you, Sean, as always, for joining me for the podcast. It's always fun.
Oh yes, thank you. Always a pleasure.
It's always a pleasure. But we'll see you guys
See you in the next one, everyone. Bye-bye. Enjoy your day. Goodbye.
Have a good day.